For years, I thought the only way I'd ever find peace was by controlling every single detail of my life. I had the perfect plan, the perfect schedule, and honestly, a perfect prison I'd built out of my own stress. Every minute was accounted for, every outcome was planned out, and every variable was, at least in my head, under my command. It turns out, the one thing I needed to do to change everything wasn't to hold on tighter, but to finally let go. Now, this isn't a story about giving up. It's about giving up the illusion that you're in charge of everything. It's about that moment you realize the desperate, white-knuckled grip you have on life isn't actually keeping you safe. It's keeping you from living. Today, I want to share how I escaped that prison and how letting go of the one thing you think you need most can give you everything you've been searching for. My obsession with control started from a place I think a lot of you will recognize, a deep, nagging fear of failure. From a young age, I learned that success gets you praise and safety, while failure brings embarrassment and chaos. So, I built my whole life around one simple idea. If I could just manage every detail, anticipate every problem, and script every conversation, I could create a life free from pain and disappointment. On the surface, I just looked disciplined. I was that person with the color-coded calendar, the 5-year plan with quarterly goals, and yeah, even pre-written responses to arguments that hadn't happened yet. I didn't just have a plan for my career. I had a plan for my relationships, my health, even my emotions. I thought if I just did everything right, I could guarantee a good outcome. I tried to control how my partner felt, what my friends thought of me, and how my boss would react to my work. And that need to manage everything? It often comes from a fear of being left behind or feeling like you're not good enough. So you overcompensate by trying to control the world around you. But underneath that veneer of productivity, I was completely drowning. My life was a constant, buzzing state of high alert. My nervous system was basically screaming at me 24/7 that I wasn't safe and needed to stay on guard. A friend canceling plans wasn't just a minor inconvenience. It felt like a catastrophic failure in my perfectly built day. A project at work hitting a snag wasn't a challenge. It was proof I hadn't planned hard enough. This whole effort to control everything is a classic psychological trap. The more you try to control, the more you notice things you can't control, which just ramps up your anxiety and makes you grip even tighter. I was exhausted. The peace I was so desperately trying to build for myself was nowhere in sight. Instead, I was trapped in a prison where the walls were my own expectations and the bars were my own routines. I wasn't creating safety. I was building a cage, and I was the only one in it. Life had become an endless checklist, and I was failing. I was just so tired of being the warden of my own life. The breaking point for me wasn't one big, dramatic moment. It was more like a slow, painful erosion. It was the realization that no matter how hard I tried, life was still, well, life. People didn't follow my scripts. Plans fell apart. My carefully controlled world kept getting shattered by the beautiful, messy, unpredictable nature of reality. The real catalyst was a relationship. I was with someone I cared about a lot, and I was convinced I knew what was best for us. I tried to manage our conversations, steer our choices, and fix their problems. I truly believed I was just being helpful, that I was protecting us. But my attempts to control the relationship weren't creating closeness. They were suffocating it. One night, after a draining argument where I tried to solve an emotional issue with a 5-step plan, they looked at me and said something I will never forget. "I don't need you to manage me. I just need you to be here with me." In that moment, my whole philosophy on life just crumbled. My control wasn't love, it was fear. My plans weren't a sign of strength. They were a shield to keep me from feeling vulnerable. I realized that by trying to control every outcome, I had completely squeezed out any room for trust or authenticity. I was so focused on preventing a bad ending that I was preventing any real beginning from ever happening. This was my big realization. True control is not the power to dictate every outcome, but the wisdom to accept what is beyond your command. It's about surrendering the illusion that you're the only person writing your life story. Life is unpredictable, and the more we try to force it into a neat little box, the more it resists. This act of surrender, of giving up the fight against reality, isn't weakness. It's not giving up on life. It's giving up on the mistaken idea that you were ever in charge of it all in the first place. That single thought was the key that unlocked the prison door. It didn't happen overnight, but for the first time, I could finally see a way out. Before I share the steps I took to tear down this prison and tell you what life is like on the other side, I want to hear from you. Take a second and pause. In the comments below, let me know, what is one thing you've been holding on to for way too long? It could be a plan, an expectation, or a belief. Let's create a space to be real with each other. Once I understood that my need for control was the actual source of my suffering, I had to learn a completely new way of being. Letting go isn't a passive thing. It's an active, courageous practice of trust and acceptance. It's a daily choice to just soften your grip. Here are the practical shifts that changed everything for me. First, I had to redefine my relationship with control. The goal isn't to have zero control, but to figure out what's actually mine to manage and what isn't. You can't control traffic or other people's moods, but you can control your own actions, your mindset, and your responses. I started asking myself a simple question. Is this mine to hold? The traffic jam on the way to work? Not mine. My coworker's bad mood? Not mine. How I choose to react to both with patience instead of anger? That is absolutely mine. This simple filter frees up so much mental and emotional energy. Second, I learned to embrace uncertainty as an opportunity, not a threat. Our minds crave certainty to feel safe, but life is, by nature, uncertain. Instead of fearing the unknown, I started to get curious about it. I realized that the best moments in my life, falling in love, discovering a new hobby, a spontaneous moment of pure joy, they were never on my to-do list. They happened in the spaces between the plans. Letting go of the need for a predictable future opens the door for things you couldn't have even imagined. Third, I started a mindfulness practice. That urge to control is usually driven by a storm of anxious thoughts about the future. Mindfulness pulls you back to the only moment that's real, right now. I started with just 5 minutes a day, focusing on my breath. When a controlling thought popped up, you need to plan that conversation right now. I learned to just notice it without getting tangled up in it. I'd label it, there's that control thought, and gently come back to my breath. This helps you see that your thoughts are just temporary events, not commands you have to obey. And finally, a huge step was learning to set healthy boundaries. A big part of being a control freak is trying to manage other people's lives and feelings. Letting go means accepting people for who they are, not who you want them to be. Setting boundaries is the ultimate act of letting go of control over others, because it's a clear statement of what you will and will not accept, putting the focus back on your own well-being. This leads to healthier, more authentic connections built on respect, not management. So what happened when I started letting go? The peace I'd been chasing for years with all my planning finally showed up, but it came from surrender, not control. That constant, low-grade anxiety that had been the soundtrack to my life started to fade. I felt this incredible sense of emotional freedom, no longer weighed down by the impossible job of managing the entire universe. My relationships completely transformed. By giving people the space to be themselves, I made room for real connection. Conversations became less about getting to a specific outcome and more about actually understanding each other. I found that the more I let go of controlling my partner, the more I could trust them, and the stronger our relationship became. Most importantly, I developed a deeper trust in myself and my own resilience. Life still throws curveballs. Things still go wrong. But now, instead of panicking and trying to force things back on track, I can be flexible. I have more faith in my ability to handle whatever comes my way because my energy is no longer wasted on fighting battles that were never mine to win. For years, I believed my tight grip on life was the only thing holding it together. The truth is, it was the only thing holding me back. Control might give you a fleeting sense of safety, but it's trust in yourself, in others, and in the flow of life that will actually set you free. Letting go isn't a one-time thing. It's a daily practice of softening, of choosing curiosity over fear, and accepting this moment for what it is. It's the quiet, brave act of unclenching your fist and just letting life unfold. You are already resilient enough to handle what comes your way. It's okay to rest. It's okay to not have all the answers. It's okay to let it go. Thanks for joining me today. If this message resonated with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more on living a more intentional life. And remember to read through the comments. You're not alone in this. Be well.